guys stick around for the full video. We're going to be discussing Scott Adams' tweet where he basically went on this little rant that's kind of sort of gotten him canceled. We're going to be speaking about what Don Lemon was saying about 5 or 6 years ago. We're going to be speaking about the double standard. And also, I'm going to be explaining to you guys why it is that while there is some data to back up what Scott says, I don't entirely agree with him. So make sure you guys stick around.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go.
There's a pretty bad double standard here. The double standard here, and I'll probably say this again in the video, is that you've got Jamel Dean, you've got Jamel Hill, or whatever her name is, you've got Joy Reid. You've got all these people on MSNBC who constantly scream how much they hate Whitey and how much white people are the devil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you're upset or offended by what Scott Adams said, then let me just go ahead and remind you that there are people in hell right now that need ice water. We have ourselves another case of cancel culture. And of course, the canceling is now of Dilbert writer Scott Adams. Now, gang, I need to go ahead and say this now so that way the Google gods won't strike this video right off the start and needs to be said within the first 30 seconds. I do not endorse what Scott Adams said or the entire spiel that he had on Twitter. However, I do also know that it more than likely was just an attempt at trolling. You see, Scott Adams was responding to a poll that was released by Gallup. I'm just going to kind of leave this up here and kind of put the link in the description box. Basically, what the poll stated was that roughly 50% of people of color have a bit of an indifference towards white people. Now, guys, I have done a lot of videos, at least two projects on this topic of why it is that I feel that the race that's being replaced is not really whites. Don't worry, I'll leave those links in the description box and you guys can go check them out for yourself. We're not going to get on that right now. However, we do have to have a conversation about what he said. Now, the thing you have to understand is that this case has got a lot of hypocrisy on it, a lot of double standards. We have to deal with Joy Reid. We have to deal with Jamel Hill. We have to deal with just about anybody and everybody that works at MSNBC screaming the wokeness and the anti-whiteness stuff. I, for the most part, typically don't get into the whole racial politics because the reason why I do that is because I think that the whole racial politics thing is kind of pumped up and kind of fake, and also to a certain degree it is regional. There is another thing that I will be breaking down in this video to kind of help you guys understand my thinking on this. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and roll this. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about this. And then we're going to roll another segment involving Don Lemon, which, by the way, is kind of sort of the meat of what Scott is kind of saying right now based upon his tweets. And there's also another clip that came from The Cut, which kind of sort of maybe clamps down on what Scott was saying, even though what he was saying was obviously an attempt at trolling to try to get people to start talking, because he had this exact same conversation with Hotep Jesus the other day. Don't worry, I'll leave the video in the description box. Let's go ahead.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. Because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. And this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm going to back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. Totally not trying. And there we go. You didn't expect that today, did you? But those who don't want to focus on education, you just need to get away from them. Just get as much distance as you can.
Wow.
That's my...
If you heard that, you'd probably think to yourself that this right here is obviously pretty bad. However, the thing is this right here. What was obviously a troll, which I think he did to obviously get people talking, did come from some charts, did come from some polls, did come from some data, even though I personally think that Gallup's track record on polls is not that good. But there are other polling institutions out there who've actually polled this same particular topic, the whole topic of I hate whitey or anti-whiteism. And see, I normally don't play the race thing up here because I live in a state that is roughly 21 or 22% black, so I'm around people of color all the time, and I can tell you right now that not every single black person hates white people, and not every single white person hates black people. However, I will say this right here, though. Our mainstream media has pumped up the anti-whiteism for a while. They've been pumping it up, really, to tell you the truth, since the days of Obama. They may have even been pumping it up really towards the end of the Bush administration when you had Kanye West and Danny Glover and a lot of other people scream and holler about the response to Hurricane Katrina. We can discuss that in the comment section. I'm pretty sure you guys will probably make some points that, quite frankly, I miss, and I'll probably agree with you on some of those and disagree with you on others, just the way that it is. It's a good old-fashioned discussion. Fact of the matter is that the anti-white narrative has been going on for a while, and I think what Scott is trying to say is that if you look at what's been going on over the years, and by the way, I talked about this in the two videos that I did on BRT, which don't worry, I will leave in the description box, and why it is I think that black people are the ones who are being replaced. All you got to do is just take a look at the U.S. Census every decade since 2000 and look at the current border crisis and the current border surge, and you can actually pretty much figure out, based upon the abortion rate, birth rate, and crime rate and murder rate, you can pretty much figure out right away that there is a certain race that's being replaced, and it's not the whites, it's the blacks. I've been warning people for a while about this. Nobody wants to friggin' listen, but I mean, it is what it is. I came to this assessment, of course, by the fact that this entire thing, I think, is regional, because I think it's bigger cities that actually have people that are a little bit more tribal. Let me explain. In the bigger cities, neighborhoods tend to be a little bit more segregated. I think Scott works in a big city, lives in a big city, and he's tried to get the hell out of there for that very same reason. We had the same disconnect on CRT when Carlin Borisenko was doing the whole CRT is not anti-white. Well, I made a couple of videos on that, and I kind of explained that she was coming at this from a position of, how do I say, where there's actually nobody of any color where she lives at. She's not been around people of color, whereas someone like myself who's lived in the state that's about 22, 23% black. I've been around people of color all my life. So therefore, I'm obviously going to have a better relationship because we work together, we go to school with one another, we hang out with one another, we see one another. So of course, obviously, we're going to have a much, much better relationship. This is one of the reasons why I believe the whole racism, anti-whiteism, and even the black nationalism stuff to a certain degree is kind of overplayed and kind of being overblown in the media. But then again, though, this video's thumbnail does state that he essentially was echoing what Don Lemon said. You know what? Let me show you exactly what Don Lemon was saying about 7 or 8 years ago.
If you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point? Number 4 now is the N-word. By promoting the use of that word when it's not germane to the conversation, have you ever considered that you may just be perpetuating the stereotype, the master? Number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here. Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. A high school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money. And number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison. And the cycle continues.
I don't know if I mentioned it at the very beginning of the video because I'm pretty sure somebody's probably waiting for me to point it out, but I'm going to go ahead and point it out right now. Don Lemon was saying that 7-8 years ago. He was saying exactly that there. I'd like to check and see if Joy Reid was saying that 7 or 8 years ago. I'd like to see if all these people were saying this. I'm talking about like Eli Mistal. I'm talking about a lot of the people that MSNBC pumps out. As a matter of fact, MSNBC got criticized the other day by CNN for being essentially racist over the whole Nikki Haley thing. Yeah, don't worry. I'll leave this video right here, and I'll also leave this video right here from Greg Foreman in the description box. Well, Greg Foreman, by the way, being one of my favorite YouTubers, is a black conservative, and we'll get to that here in a second because I don't think the entire African American community cannot be saved. Just like I said before, I don't think Scott Adams said this with actual malice. I think he said this to be a troll. I mean, hell, the guy was on Hotep Jesus the other day having a conversation with him about matters just like this. Don't worry, I'll try to link that video in the description box for you guys to see. Fact of the matter is that Scott Adams was trolling people, but he was trolling people based upon some actual honest-to-God data. Now, who the hell is the culprit for this right here? Well, when you live in bigger cities like, say, New York or Chicago or LA where there's mass media influence and you're basically looking at the rhetoric all day, after a while, it wouldn't surprise me if half of a certain section of the population didn't somewhat get radicalized and didn't somewhat not turn into something that, quite frankly, is a resemblance of what you're about to see right now.
Superior at.
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Violence. Genocide.
It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like it.
If you are white and you know this is happening and you say nothing, then you're a killer too.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
Fear.
Being fearful of nothing.
Being ignorant.
Blame.
Letting their egos control their every move. Superior at being dicks.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Oppression.
Gaslighting.
Lack of empathy.
Intellectualizing oppression.
Did I say oppression? What exactly are white people superior at?
Taking what's not there. Taking shit.
Taking our ideas.
Copycatting.
Gentrification.
Appropriating things that do not belong to them.
Taking over other people's cultures and making you believe that they invented it.
Maybe they're thinking of it as repurposing. It's like recycle and repurpose.
As my grandma was saying, them white folk, they'll take it if you don't copyright it.
They are very good at destruction of land, destruction of people, destruction of humanness.
Republican, whether you're Democrat, whether you're conservative, like white people are really good at upholding white supremacy.
How about claiming that, they are actually a whole separate race, when actually white DNA comes from the black female?
So what exactly are white people superior at?
honey, lying, stealing, and cheating.
Manipulation. Withholding information.
Lying?
Telling lies.
Showtime also do a special called "Everything Is Going to Be All White." I mean, let's just go ahead and kind of like roll this one right here too, because this right here is kind of sort of what white people have been dealing with for a while here.
It's also annoying is when they kill us.
What is fragile about whiteness when everything has been constructed around it?
Every part of who I am has been distorted or criminalized.
It's really just a bunch of white lies.
We're storming the Capitol! You're not patriots. You're ridiculous.
One of the definitions of American whiteness is ignorance.
White people, we are not your problem. You are.
Should white people today feel any responsibility for slavery?
Hell yeah.
White Jesus or black Jesus?
Jesus was not white.
Think of geography. Ain't no way Jesus walked around with blonde hair and blue eyes.
White culture fears the end of the world. For us as Native people, the end of the world already happened like multiple times.
Symbols and monuments, these are mementos of racism.
Bring that statue down. Put up a TCBY yogurt or something. Everybody can get behind.
The truth has to be told about history.
We have to make sure that these stories are told from our perspective.
Now, gang, let me also say something else too. What you've just seen, and I mean this is not all black people. This right here is probably a certain subsection that, quite frankly, has been radicalized by the media, and we do need to have these conversations. Now, Scott, I want to say, mentioned, I think in the longer version, he may have mentioned it there. I watched it 3 times, and I just didn't hear it. But he mentioned the videos that are out there of black students and black kids beating up white kids. We don't know the circumstances of that, but some of them look pretty freaking bad. I think I even did a video on an incident in Florida where a Hispanic kid had the literal hell beat out of her, a little girl, by a much, much larger student. I don't show those videos here on YouTube because if I did that, I would eventually get removed from the platform. Obviously, you cannot do that. However, I'll leave some links in the description box to some pages you can follow on Twitter to see if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. I mean, for all I know, it may be overblown as well. But the fact of the matter is that there is actual honest-to-God data that somewhat backs up what Scott is saying. Now, I'm not endorsing what he's saying. I'm not endorsing him saying that we should basically leave one section alone, not have conversation with them, because not every single black person does that. Not every single black person thinks you're a racist. Not every single black person calls you a racist. I think what it is it's the people that Scott is running into in the area of the country or the area of the section of the city that he lives in. That right there is basically what I'm saying. But speaking of this whole notion of not speaking to people of color, let me go ahead and say this to you right quick. I want to go ahead and throw this out here. Black people, for the most part, are actually much, much more socially conservative than you think. They are. They traditionally vote Democrat, okay? They've been voting Democrat. They love to say since the days of Kennedy. That's actually not entirely accurate. They actually started voting more Democrat really during the days of FDR. It was the New Deal policies that were pitched in that got black people voting Democrat. Basically, the Great Society plan and the Civil Rights Act basically clamped down on the support under the days of Lyndon Baines Johnson. That was 1965, I believe, 1964 and 65. But the thing is, this right here, they've been voting Democrat for much, much longer period of time, to the point to where it was like 98% in 2008 for Barack Hussein Obama. And I even spoke to a couple of black people that I'm really, really good friends with, and they said they voted for him strictly on the basis that he was the same color that they were, even though Obama was actually mixed. As Morgan Freeman pointed out, Obama is actually the first mixed president in American history. 2012 is 96%. We get to 2016, it's only like 90% of blacks voted Democrat that election. Trump actually got 8%. And then in 2020, what did Donald Trump do? He got right 12%. He got double the vote he had the year before. It was a much smaller percentage than was actually expected, but he doubled the overall vote. So you can't sit here and say that the whole entire race is gone. As a matter of fact, conservatives are making inroads with black people. For example, Sav says, an actual honest-to-God girl who's doing actual honest-to-God journalism, like so many other people who do these man-on-the-street segments, goes out there and actually asks questions.
And we're in a strong economy, that we're doing great. Do you believe that?
No, we are not financially stable, comfortable, or nothing like that. But when Trump was in office, I was feeling really good.
Really?
Yes, Trump. Comfortable? Look at them gas prices. They ain't comfortable to me. Hell no.
Ain't no comfortability around nowhere.
It's bullshit. Bullshit completely because, like, rent prices is crazy. We paying, I don't know how much percent more, but I would say at least 300 or 400 more than we was paying 2 years ago.
So when the Biden administration comes forward and says that economically and financially our country's doing really well, do you think that's a lie?
Yeah, I think they blowing smoke up out behind. I think it's Biden's fault. Trump said it would happen. Like, we would deal with a lot of the stuff that we dealing with back when we had the Great Depression. I miss Daddy T, Trump. I mean, it's Daddy T, for real. Trump for the culture.
For the culture?
No, I don't think there should be a stopping of dialogue or anything like that. I think what should be happening is that there should actually be more outreach, but I think people need to be much, much smarter about it. Scott's talking about a certain percentage, and by the way, let me go ahead and say something to you guys right quick. Hate, racism, and stuff is learned, okay? It's taught. You're not born with it, okay? It is learned. Let me explain something else to you, too. Roughly 90% of your behavior is learned behavior. Like I said before, hate, racism, that type of stuff there, that stuff is learned. It is not inherent. It is not something you were born with. It is something that, quite frankly, you learn along the way. Do you think it's possible that maybe this number is increasing because the mainstream media is making it this way? I mean, when you sit around and you watch Joy Reid and Jamel Dean and you watch Stephen A. Smith, and which, by the way, all these people are just reading a good old-fashioned script. Trust me, though, there are some that really and truly do hate white people. Keith Ellison, Roland Martin, I'm pretty sure they do. Who else is it? Eli Mastal, that guy there who was screaming for Civil War a while back, even though the only closest thing to a Civil War he's going to see is a fighting with another guy his size at the freaking lunch buffet down at the Golden Corral. But still, at the same time, though, I think a lot of this is being overblown. It does not mean that we cannot have some type of dialogue with one another and we can't come to some type of agreement or understanding. I really and truly feel that it is actually the media that is trying everything it can to divide this country simply for freaking ratings. So, yes, Scott Adams is responding to a poll. He's responding to some actual data, even though I do question the validity of that data. However, I do not agree with him in the sense that we should just stop the dialogue. I think we need to actually increase the dialogue. I may have already said it a good amount, but let me go ahead and say this before the video ends, because I know the social justice warriors, they found a way to cut this video off, and I should probably start saying this at the beginning of videos from now on rather than the end. There are some people out there that, quite frankly, can't be helped. They're called SJWs. They're called white liberals. Okay, I just figured I'd go ahead and throw that out there. These people kind of sort of can't be helped. They constantly go on about grievances that really and truly are not theirs, but yet then again, though, they oftentimes forget that there are people in hell that, quite frankly, need ice water. But then again, though, these people don't exactly believe in hell or believe in God, so maybe I'm preaching to the choir on that one. But no, we need to actually have some more dialogue, okay? I think we need to actually reach out, and I think we need to talk to people. I think we need to be smart about it, however, though. And I think that's what we need to do. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comments section. Also, make sure you guys hit that notifications bell. Only about 20% of you guys that watch the content or subscribe. Make sure you guys hit that red subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let's make this channel grow, and let's get this video out there. If you guys disagree with me, if you have some additional thoughts, please leave it in the comment section, and I will see you guys later.